I never should have read that post to the end. I know that's how every story like this starts, but I mean it in a specific way. Not because of what was in the post, but because of what reading it did to my brain for the next 3 weeks. It installed something, and I couldn't uninstall it. My name's Alex, 26, Garfield Heights, suburb outside Cleveland. I work in IT remotely. One-bedroom apartment in a complex on East 93rd and Turney Road. Gray brick, parking lot with potholes, busted light by the entrance. Nothing special about it. It was a Wednesday around 1 in the morning. I was scrolling r/no sleep because I couldn't sleep, which is its own kind of irony. I found a post with the title, "Do not open the door after 2:17 a.m. I learned this too late." Username was u_throwaway_4881932. Account 6 days old, one post. I started reading. The author said his name was Nathan. Columbus, Ohio. His mother had died. He was going through her belongings in her old house on Livingston Avenue, and he found the notebook with a rule written in her handwriting, all capitals. Do not open the door after 2:17 a.m. He packed it away and forgot about it. Then he stayed in the house for a few nights sorting through paperwork. And on the third night, there was a knock at exactly 2:17. He didn't open it that first night. Second night, same thing. Third night, he opened it. Nobody there, but the hallway smelled like funeral flowers that had been sitting too long. Next morning, every clock in the house had stopped, all showing 2:17. After that, he started waking up at exactly 2:17 every night, started hearing knocking, started sleepwalking to the door without remembering. His wife said he was saying things he didn't remember saying. The post ended, "If you're reading this, don't open the door after 2:17 a.m. Doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter who's knocking, doesn't matter how long it goes on, just don't open it." I closed the tab. Decent atmosphere, predictable formula, nothing special. I finished my Red Bull and went to sleep. What I didn't notice, or noticed and didn't register, was a comment near the bottom, posted maybe 30 minutes before I opened the page. Someone wrote, "Nathan, are you okay? Your account isn't responding. I live in Garfield Heights, saw your post, sent a DM, nothing back. Hope you're all right." Garfield Heights. My neighborhood. I scrolled past it. 3 days later, on a Friday, I went out with my buddy Jake, got back around midnight, slightly buzzed, fell asleep around 1. Woke up. Dark room. Car passing somewhere outside. I turned my head and looked at my phone on the nightstand. 2:17. I stared at those numbers. In the back of my mind, something stirred. That feeling when a word is right at the edge. I rolled over and closed my eyes. Then there was a knock. 2 taps, then silence, then 3 more, slightly louder. I sat up. My front door was at the end of a short hallway. I could see it through the open bedroom doorway. I remembered the post. I laughed, actually laughed, out loud, quietly, into the dark. Because it was funny. Coincidence plus alcohol and a brain that was already loaded with the story. Textbook. I got up, walked to the door, looked through the peephole. An older man stood outside. Beige jacket, gray hair, glasses. He was looking directly at the peephole. I asked who was there. He said, sorry to bother me. He lived on the 3rd floor and had locked himself out. Could he let me use my phone to call the building manager? Normal, tired voice, apologetic. I let him use my phone. The on-call manager came with a spare key. Mr. Woods thanked me and left. I locked up and went back to bed. Told myself, there it is, nothing scary, just a coincidence. I relaxed. What I didn't remember until later was that about an hour after Mr. Woods left, still half asleep, I heard another knock, light, almost polite. I figured it was him coming back for something. I opened the door. No one there. I went back to sleep. I had opened the door twice. On Monday, I went back to look at the post again. It had been deleted, account gone. I found an archived version through Google Cache and read the parts I'd skimmed the first time. It had been long and I'd been half asleep. Nathan described what happens after you open the door. First, waking up every night at exactly 2:17 a.m. Second, knocking, starting with 2 taps, then 3, then it doesn't stop. Third, unfamiliar cars near the building, usually dark-colored, usually no front plate. Fourth, the feeling of being watched. Fifth, at some point they stop just knocking, they start talking. The voice always sounds familiar, a family member, a friend, a neighbor. Don't respond. Doesn't matter who you think you're hearing. 6, the opening is a warning. The second opening is an invitation. The third, there's no way back. I sat there looking at that. Then I pulled myself together and said out loud, this is a Reddit horror story. A person who knows how to build atmosphere. You woke at 2:17 because you'd been primed to think about 2:17. The knock was a neighbor. The car, I had started noticing cars. I closed the browser. That same evening in the elevator, I ran into a woman I'd never seen before in 2 years of living there. Short dark hair, gray coat. We nodded at each other. She got off at the 3rd floor without looking back. I glanced at my phone in the elevator just because my brain wanted to, and I stopped myself before I looked because I knew what I'd see, or rather that I'd interpret whatever time it was as meaningful. That night, I woke at 2:17 again, and there was a knock. I didn't open the door. I lay in bed listening to it. 2 taps, 3, a pause, 2 more. Then it stopped. I looked through the peephole, empty hallway. I told Jake about it the next morning, and he said what any mechanical engineer would say. You're reading too many no-sleep posts. Sleep deprivation, hypnagogic sounds between sleep and waking. Your brain is pattern matching. He suggested I get a Wi-Fi camera for the door, which was actually a good idea, so I ordered one. While I waited for it to arrive, I went back and read the rest of the archive post, the part about the voice that sounds familiar, the part about the 3rd time. The camera arrived, I mounted it above my door, and felt slightly stupid. Grown man installing security equipment over a Reddit story. That night, I woke at 2:17, and there was a knock. I opened the camera app on my phone. The hallway was empty. Clear image, good resolution, yellow light. The knocking continued. The hallway was empty. I sat there for a while trying to understand this. Then I understood. Sounds at night are spatially deceptive. Old buildings, shared walls, pipes. The knocking might not be coming from my door at all. It might be a neighbor on the other side of a wall. But also, sitting in my bed at 2 in the morning, alone, with the camera showing an empty hallway while I could hear knocking, that didn't feel like a comfortable explanation. It felt like something else. I called my friend Marcus, who works dispatch at the local precinct. I asked him, trying to keep it casual, if there had been anything weird at my complex lately. He asked what happened. I told him about the knocking and an unfamiliar car I'd seen, leaving out the Reddit angle. He was quiet for a second, then asked if I'd ever heard of a Nathan Reeves. Lived on Turney Road, 1 block from me. Had started acting strange about 3 months ago. Neighbors complaining. Then he disappeared. Wife reported it. Never found. Strange behavior. Walking the hallways at night, knocking on doors, standing in front of doors and staring at them. I asked if he'd said anything when he knocked. Marcus said neighbors reported he used names, like he knew who lived behind each door. I hung up and sat on my couch for a while. There was a rational explanation here. Nathan Reeves was a real person with a mental illness who'd written a Reddit post and then begun acting on it, going to the addresses of people in his neighborhood. The knocking was him, or had been him until he disappeared 3 months ago, and then he'd come back, or someone else had found his list. The rational explanation was frightening enough without anything supernatural in it. The night I remember most clearly started normally enough. Jake had stayed over. I'd asked him to, said I needed company, and he was good about not asking for a full explanation. He fell asleep on the couch. I lay in my room with the door open between us. At 2:17 I woke up. No knocking. Just the weight of it, like something had arrived in the room without making a sound. Then a knock. One, heavy, like a fist. Silence. One more. Then a voice. My father's voice. Low, slightly rough. "Alex, it's me. Open up." I didn't move. The post. The voice always sounds familiar. Don't respond. "Alex, open up. I need to talk to you." I knew it was my father's voice. Not just similar. It was his specific cadence, the way he ends sentences. I have heard that voice my entire life. I called him. He answered after 3 rings, sleep in his voice. "Alex, what's wrong? It's 3 in the morning." He was in Cincinnati, in bed. I said I was sorry, must have had a bad dream, I'd call him tomorrow. I stood in my hallway. Behind the door, one more knock, then my father's voice again. "Alex, open the door." I didn't. Eventually it stopped. I sat on the floor with my back against the door for a while, not knowing what else to do. In the morning, I called Torres at the precinct, the detective who'd taken my report, and told him someone had been at my door speaking with a synthesized or recorded version of my father's voice. He didn't dismiss this. He said he'd look into it. 3 quiet days. I almost relaxed, which in retrospect I should have known better not to do. On the 4th night, I woke at 2:17 again, but this time to a different sound. Not knocking, footsteps from my kitchen, slow, rhythmic, back and forth. I lay still for a minute trying to come up with explanations. Old building, pipes, downstairs neighbors. But these were too rhythmic. I got the baseball bat from my closet, I've had it since college, it just lives there, and turned on the hallway light. The footsteps stopped immediately. I went to the kitchen and turned that light on too. Nobody there. But the kitchen window was open. I never open that window. Definitely not at night. Definitely not in October. I called Torres at 2:23 a.m. He sent a patrol unit. They swept the apartment, found nobody. But on the exterior window sill, in the layer of grime and dead leaves that had blown up from the trees, there were fresh marks. Someone had been standing there. We're on the 3rd floor. The next day a detective came and found the window latch had been tampered with. Not recently, the mechanism was damaged in a way that suggested someone had done it previously, so it would look shut but not fully engage. Preparation, not improvisation. Torres came in person after that. Nathan Reeves had been found alive, in a hospital, mid-acute episode, but he wasn't the one who'd been at my window. A journal they found on him described someone Nathan called the Visitor. A man who'd come to him, said the Reddit post was true, told him he was helping him do important work. Torres's theory was that someone found Nathan in a vulnerable state, reinforced his paranoid beliefs, and used him as a way to frighten specific people. Of the 12 people on Nathan's list, 6 had moved out of the complex. 8 of those 12 units had been purchased by the same property management LLC at below market prices. The tenants had wanted to leave fast. A scare campaign. Someone wanted to empty apartments cheaply. I'm giving you the explanation Torres gave me, but I want to be honest, it doesn't fully close everything. It explains Nathan and the knocking, and probably the car. What it doesn't cleanly explain is my father's voice. Torres's theory was that someone called my father weeks before any of this started. Dad confirmed there had been a call he thought was spam, a few seconds of conversation, and recorded enough to use. That's possible. It's also a lot of effort for a real estate scheme. I don't know. I've gone back and forth on it. I moved out. I'm in Lakewood now, different suburb, 4th floor, windows with no exterior ledge wide enough to stand on, new locks, camera over the door. I sleep better, mostly, but sometimes I wake up and check my phone before I'm even fully conscious.
It's just a reflex now. My brain burned it in. The case went to the county prosecutor. The Property Management LLC is under investigation. These things take a long time, Torres said. I don't know where it is now. Nathan Reeves is still in treatment, as far as I know. His attorney made the argument that he was a victim too, and I think that's true, though it doesn't make what happened to me easier to file away. I want to say something about why I'm writing this, because it's not to tell you don't read scary Reddit posts. That's not the lesson. The lesson, if there is one, is something more boring. When things are happening that you can't explain, the explanation you're most afraid of is not automatically the supernatural one. Sometimes the most frightening explanation is that a real person planned all of it very carefully and is several steps ahead of you. And real people can do things that feel impossible: synthesize a voice, damage a latch, find your name from a mailbox. Check the facts, turn on the light, call the person, go to the police. Not because you'll always get answers, but at least you'll be doing something other than lying in the dark building a picture out of 2 taps and a time on a clock. I still wake up at 2:17 sometimes. Old habit, my brain won't drop. The post is gone, the account is gone. Nathan is in a hospital. The case is with prosecutors. I should probably sleep.